I know I'm not the only one that's had this idea to put a iRobot Roomba thing in the shop. I know it's not going to clean it perfectly, I get that, but I feel like it would help. But for the dreary, cool, kind of moist day that we really need, not the coolness part, but the moisture part, we've got other things that we want to get done today. And one of those things is actually really, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I really love this 180 Allis Chalmers. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a 1000 PTO. And so it kind of makes it difficult for us to use it for a lot of things, because the mowers, well actually both mowers, so the Bush Hog and the disc mower, they're both 1000 PTO. Well, this one doesn't have the 2-speed PTO. So we have an idea on how we're gonna make it to where we can have a tractor that has both 1000 540 as a secondary tractor too. So we did trade our 180 directly across for the 7000, and I know the 7000 is really undesirable to a lot of people, mainly because it's kind of a one-off in the 7000 series. Very little interchanges from the 7000 to the 7010, the 7020, and so on in the series. What I like about it is it has 1000 PTO. So the 180 doesn't have a 1000 PTO. The one we had did not have a 1000 PTO, and that's the biggest problem, like I mentioned earlier. This does. Now it does need some work. There's very low hours on it, and the tires are in excellent condition. But what is kind of messed up on it is the throttle cable. It doesn't function like it should. The clutch hopefully is out of adjustment and doesn't need replaced, because you barely let out on the clutch and it's going. So I'm hoping that that's just an adjustment. The other thing is that the PTO always spins. It never turns off, and it doesn't necessarily spin like it should though. It doesn't spin at the rated RPM. So like when I rev it up, it doesn't really spin any faster, which makes me think that this cable is broke, because the other thing is the lever has no leverage or no resistance to it. So I'll show you once I get it unloaded. Come on, girl, you're right there. Got it. Woos! What you doing, buddy? Some on your melon, man. There you go. All right, so we pulled this in here. There was 3 things that were wrong with this when I got it. Number 1, and it still kind of is not wrong, but not right. The clutch engagement is, I mean, almost instant. There is no feathering the clutch. And I've tried adjusting it, but I'm gonna have to go through the books and actually do that by the book step by step to ensure that I've got it right. The other thing that was wrong is the PTO. The PTO wouldn't work. It was stuck kind of like halfway on. It didn't match the RPM speed that it should. It was just kind of halfway on. Well, that wasn't too bad of a fix. We were able to simply get in here. This linkage was connected like it's supposed to here. We did have to extend it on this side, but so the problem with this PTO cable was this. So this cable that my hand is on right here, there's a metal piece, the holder right there just above my finger. That piece wasn't able to hold the cable in place. But the other problem is that the cable was connected in the wrong it wasn't even connected where it should be on the lever. And I wish I could have showed you exactly what it was, but there's just not a lot of videoing that you can do in this area. The last thing that was wrong is the throttle mechanism, or the throttle linkage, was way out of whack. So let me get up there and show you. What the throttle was doing is that it would do absolutely nothing. You could move it all the way up here, roughly right about there is where it actually started to function, like it actually would give you a little bit of RPM. But it was just such a short area to go from there to full throttle. Like it was hard to use like that. The other thing is that with that linkage being wrong, the foot throttle, it didn't work really well either because it was very sensitive as well. Now you can still see on this dash, this tractor had to have sat outside for a long period of time at some point. All of this is all sun faded. I don't know how well you can see on here. It's all very sun faded. It has 1,537 hours on it, which, to be honest, I'm pretty confident that's actually the real hours. I'm pretty confident that's the real hour meter. Like I said, the sun fading is one thing that kind of leads me to believe that. And then plus, when I look at other original Allis Chalmers tacks online, they all look just like that. The fuel gauge and the water temp, as you can see, when it sat outside for all that time, not only did it dry rot this cover that goes over these lights, but it obviously took its toll on this gauge as well, and it filled with water. That gauge don't work at all. So we do need to get this, and then I need to get that cover. The cover isn't as big of a deal because I actually got on the Allis Chalmers 7000 page, and they were really helpful, and some people sent pictures of what it looks like and what it is. So at least this way, if a light turns on, I can go on there and be like, okay, well, that's engine oil pressure, that's trans temp. Helps me figure out what's going on for real. Lights all work, amazingly. It even has flashers, so that's kind of cool. It is a lot bigger than the 180. And I know that, no, I didn't need a bigger tractor. On the other hand, the convenience to this is, if something does happen to the 8030 and it's down, I could use this to do my mowing. I could also use it to do my baling if I really had to. So a lot of benefits to it. I miss the 180, especially the maneuverability of it. This one isn't nearly as maneuverable, but it is a very tight tractor. The steering's tight, has good tires all around. Pretty happy with it. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you next time. Now, I do have a sneaky suspicion that somebody turned this thing up because it does push off a lot of smoke. And that seems unusual for me, especially for a 7000.